After decades of being silent, 83-year-old Karen Grassle is speaking out. Astonishingly, her revelations on Michael Landon will disappoint Little House viewers. Few were aware of the darker reality lurking behind the innocent, heartwarming smiles on film. Despite their obvious creative differences, Grassle tolerated Landon's abuse for years. In this article, we will reveal the hidden facts and intense tension that occurred behind the scenes of a beloved American television show and ultimately altered its trajectory. For far too long, this was Little House's secret side. A haven of good family values in the turbulent 70s and 80s, Little House on the Prairie was a work of television magic. The Ingalls family's idyllic life captivated viewers for 9 seasons. Subsisting solely on seasonal crops in the American Midwest throughout the 1800s, the show evoked a longing for a bygone era when religion, love, and common sense were the answers to most problems. The charming and graceful Michael Landon and Karen Grassle brought their characters Charles and Caroline Ingalls to life. Their on-screen chemistry led many to assume that this small-screen family was just as friendly and tight off-screen as they seemed. However, there was a lot more nuance to the beautiful family that appeared in Little House on the Prairie. Relationships in real life were frequently difficult and tense, in contrast to the show's stories, which praised bravery, community, and generosity. Not all members of the Ingalls family had the same closeness, and there were hidden struggles beyond the surface of the reassuring words and warm smiles. Grassle, Karen, who subtly bore much that ran counter to the kindness that her persona exuded, and who personified Caroline Ingalls' unwavering resilience, the show's seemingly perfect atmosphere belies a darker truth, one in which interpersonal tensions and power struggles unfolded outside of the cozy confines of the TV. The truth came as a shocking blow to the show's devoted fans, who had viewed it as a haven for traditional family values. The show's charisma stems from the seamless chemistry between Landon and Grassle, which wasn't always present. On the contrary, one of television's lesser-known conflicts was set in motion by professional difficulties and personal struggles, which strained the rapport behind the scenes. The real story behind Little House on the Prairie started to change as its popularity skyrocketed. Karen Grassle had gone from being the adored mum of Walnut Grove, Caroline Ingalls, to a pivotal character on a popular television series, meriting equitable acclaim and compensation. Still, she got a rather unhelpful reaction when she requested a pay hike before the second season. Michael Landon, the show's charismatic lead and a formidable producer, director, and showrunner, firmly declined her request. After he insisted that her salary be more comparable to that of kid actors, Grassle felt belittled and offended. At this very instant, a chasm began to open up. Tensions rose in what had been a friendly and cooperative group. Unspoken animosity permeated the air. Landon's response was about more than just doing business. There was a hint of power and dismissal in it. The chemistry between Grassle and Landon cooled down following that argument, and her scenes were either omitted or severely reduced in length. Even in front of the film crew, the actor who had played her spouse on screen would make sexist jokes about her. Landon frequently crossed the line into crude language while making extremely derogatory comments about women's looks, behavior, and overall demeanor. The toll on Grassle, who professionalized his response to these insults, was substantial. It never felt safe or viable to reprimand Landon directly because of the gender dynamics of the 1970s film industry, when women were often subjected to similar abuse. She chose to remain silent, acting the part of the good girl in the hopes that her career would be spared. What ought to have been a cooperative atmosphere became toxic due to the power and respect imbalance. One of the first signs of trouble was Landon's calculated shift in his interaction style with Grassle in their shared scenes. Charles and Caroline's renownedly warm on-screen kisses were given an extreme, icy tone. Grassle took it as a warning instead of as a sign of affection. A message of replaceability was transmitted by the performative coldness, which served as a reminder of who held control behind the camera. However, the plot didn't exclude with these conflicts. Grassle got the increase she was due and made amends with Landon before he died suddenly. But the wounds from those early fights and how she was treated lingered throughout her stay on the program. Concealed beneath Little House's innocent exterior, a tragic and intricate story was playing out.
One in which unseen collisions of skill, ambition, and personal hardship. As resentment boiled up on the Little House set, the facade of professionalism started to crumble. Once a self-assured lead actress, Karen Grassle became Michael Landon's victim of scathing jokes and degrading insults. The initially unsettling chill soon transformed into something much worse. Landon used humor as a weapon to manipulate and degrade others. While filming, Landon would make obscene remarks and degrade women to stereotypes. Grassle claims that he continually made vile comments and used profanity, including the C word, on a regular basis, on the ways in which women look and smell following sexual activity. Those were hardly casual comments. The toxic environment that Grassle and others were trying to escape was fueled by his public airing of grievances, which was occasionally encouraged by male crew members who shared his laughter. Particularly distressing was Landon's conduct during sexually suggestive moments at the Ingalls home. Despite the sweetness and affection displayed by their characters, the on-screen romance was undermined by Landon's caustic comments. It was common for Grassle to feel paralyzed, she claimed, felt violated and uneasy by the comments that shattered the typical air of professionalism on television. The team had a range of reactions. Some people were startled and kept their distance. It was as if other people began acting similarly to Landon, reinforcing an environment where inappropriate behavior was tolerated. For Grassle, it was an emotionally devastating ordeal. Despite her on-screen success, she struggled with feelings of loneliness, low self-esteem, and an overwhelming mental load. The situation was not unique to Grassle, though. Members of the group have since discussed Landon's domineering and frequently abusive personality, describing him as a showman who could be nasty at times. A long-running program usually fosters a sense of togetherness, but this one grew emotionally draining as anxiety and fear of Landon's erratic temper took their place. Maintaining her professionalism, Grassle persevered through the challenges, overcoming obstacles in a frequently unfair and unfriendly environment. She went on to have a difficult life outside of acting due to the trauma she had during this time, and she eventually decided to talk freely about the darker aspects of Little House on the Prairie. Beyond his acting duties, Michael Landon ruled the set. Storylines, casting choices, and even the dynamics between cast members were all dictated by him as the show's core figure, Little House on the Prairie. His domineering personality frequently devolved into manipulating others emotionally, leading to an atmosphere where disagreement was stifled and allegiance was forced. For fear of his career, several cast members were too afraid to speak out about how stifling his hold was. Cast memoirs, rumors, and leaked accounts all contributed to the public's awareness of the dissatisfaction. In her portrayal of Margaret, Melissa Sue Anderson alludes to the dramatic setting, saying that it was the kind of place where Landon's anger may flare out at any moment. Star Melissa Gilbert, who played Laura Ingalls, also addressed the subtextual conflict, stating that Landon's dictatorial nature frequently overpowered the supposed friendship that viewers perceived on screen. According to these allegations, the set environment resembled a battleground rather than a family, since the actor-turned-producer valued control over peace. Equally contentious was Landon's reputation off-screen as well. The destruction of the Walnut Grove set in his later years was one of his controversial and often overbearing decisions.
A lot of people took it as a sign that they wanted to change the storyline about the show's legacy or perhaps delete the past. Some have speculated that destroying a physical representation of the beloved program and its characters was a metaphor for Landon's desire to maintain supremacy long after the show stopped. This move added gasoline to the fire of speculation regarding his authoritarian tendencies, implying that he saw the show and its universe as his property, to be maintained or destroyed as he pleased. The general public has a range of opinions. Despite Landon's widespread acclaim for his brilliance and originality, rumors about his vicious nature began to circulate. His deeds behind the scenes cast doubt on his public persona, showing a guy with enormous compassion and mercilessness as well as the ability to exert absolute control and make difficult judgments. The complicated and contradictory character, whose legacy would be forever linked with scandal, was revealed as the myth of the beneficent TV star started to crumble as more cast members came out with accounts of manipulation and intimidation. There were many more than only contentious dynamics and professional conflicts that Karen Grassle encountered on her path through the turbulent world of filmmaking. Her drinking was a long-standing issue that she fought for a long time. Grassle knew firsthand the devastation that alcoholism could wreak as she watched her father struggle with the disease. No matter how steadfast and caring Caroline Ingalls seemed on screen, she waged a secret, internal struggle throughout her career. She hid her growing addiction until the string of unfortunate events compelled her to face her limits. She had her first rude awakening in the beginning of her career when she planned a luncheon on set and decided to drink wine instead of water. That one sip lingered with her. The bottle became an obsession, and she became paralyzed by the power of alcohol. Whenever she felt stress or tension, her will to resist would fail her, such as delivering speeches or coping with personal tragedies. Grassle hit a tipping point in 1977. The sobering reality hit her after another night on the town and a rift with a trusted friend. It dawned on her that she needed help overcoming her addiction. She resolved to get sober with the help of others, support groups, and her own will to make a difference. As she regained her footing in life and work, sobriety served as a guiding light, as a fresh start was marked by the date of her breakthrough. The demands of fame only made her problems worse. Her delicate mental state, exacerbated by the emotional and public pressures of being a TV star in a popular series, led her to drink excessively to dull the agony. Because she was afraid people would judge her or her career would suffer, she kept quiet about her troubles for a long time. The thought of her professionalism taking a hit if she let her guard down was terrifying to her, and thus she silently persevered. Bright Lights, Prairie Dust, her memoir, broke her silence and allowed her to speak frankly about her experiences.
She detailed the decades she spent hidden and how the stigma and humiliation she felt prevented her from getting treatment when she needed it. The key to Grassle's newfound freedom and purpose came when she surrendered to vulnerability and sobriety. Personal struggles may shake even the strongest people, as her story shows, and that speaking out is frequently the first step towards recovery. Karen Grassle's memoir, Bright Lights, Prairie Dust, is the brave decision to tell her experience after decades of silence. Through her frank and unfiltered story, she revealed the truth behind the legendary character of Carolyn Ingalls and the adored television series Little House on the Prairie. The numerous facets of her life are laid bare in her book. In addition to her role as an actress navigating the difficult industry, she also faces personal struggles, such as depression, addiction, and the ongoing battle to be heard in a world where men hold most of the power. Controversial topics were not avoided in the memoir. Grassle brought attention to the conflicts with Michael Landon by describing his domineering behavior and the difficulties she faced during filming. Simultaneously, her nuance shone through as she gracefully acknowledged her own shortcomings and errors. Her story delves into more than just her time in Hollywood. It also examines her struggles for equal pay, the rights of women, and the tenacity needed to make it in the entertainment world during the 1970s and beyond. Prairie Dust, a public response to Bright Lights, was influential despite its mixed reception. For his courage and openness, Grassle was much lauded by both fans and critics, lauding her for speaking out and bringing attention to topics that are frequently ignored. To her many admirers, she represented courage and the power of speaking up for the voiceless. Still, there were those who were hesitant to embrace the less positive depiction of Landon, who was still highly regarded in popular culture, and therefore responded with suspicion and criticism. A fresh wave of curiosity about the inner workings of Little House ensued, as old rumors and controversies made a comeback. One of the most significant things that Grassle has shown is that the public's perception of the show and its impact has changed. The once impenetrable emblem of television innocence now has a more complex and balanced past, one that gives voice to the anguish, paradoxes, and hardships endured by individuals who were there. Historians and admirers of her narrative have been prompted to reevaluate the true cost of fame and the pretenses that surround it. Even the most prominent figures can have a dark side, as this previously unknown aspect of Michael Landon and Karen Grassle's live shows. Power, vulnerability, and the value of revealing the truth are all topics that Grassle's narrative has sparked new discussions about. Before Michael Landon's tragic death in 1991, Karen Grassle and Michael were able to reconcile to some extent, despite their long history of animosity. They got back together after realizing how complicated their relationship had been and how much pressure and reality they had both experienced in the cutthroat world of television. After bearing the burden of those trying years for so long, Grassle finally felt some relief with this awkward but significant conclusion. Both Landon and Grassle have remained prominent figures in the years that followed, in manners befitting the complexities of their legacies. Loved for his parts in classic series like Bonanza and Little House on the Prairie, Landon is still hailed as a creative genius. New insights into his complex nature have added complexity to the acclaim for his work on television as an actor, writer, and producer. At the same time, Grassle's honesty and bravery in telling her tale are just as much loved as her performance as Carolyn Ingalls. Cast reunions and interviews have revealed a shift in mindset among those associated with the show, shedding insight on the frequently idealized world of television production.
The long-established power relations that were formerly considered normal are now being challenged publicly, and discussions inside the business regarding gender, respect, and equality have progressed. Grassle is courageous for standing up, has paved the way for a more open discussion regarding conduct in the workplace and personal challenges, not only in the entertainment industry but also outside of it. Several valuable lessons can be gleaned from the story of Karen Grassle and Michael Landon, a perfect example of how public personas can never do justice to the complexity of the human condition. The people behind the scenes may fight conflicts that the audience has no idea about, but fame, power, and success frequently have a hidden price. Most importantly, it demands compassion, the ability to see the other side of a tale, and the wisdom to comprehend the hardships that impact people's lives. Striking a balance between adoration and an honest understanding of the struggles they face, it promotes a more empathetic perspective on celebrities. At the end of the day, Grassle's story is about fortitude, development, and forgiveness. Her courage in speaking her mind has been an inspiration even after the series finale aired. It challenges viewers to see under the surface, accept life as it is, and value the bravery required to recover and speak up in front of a global audience. The real-life narrative of Little House on the Prairie unveils a complex network of hidden struggles, secrets, and unseen conflicts as we delve into one of the most renowned series in television history. The transformation of Karen Grassle from a quiet person to a powerful advocate shows that even the most optimistic stories have dark undertones. She has the guts to speak out, and now people are listening to her about power, respect, and the complexities of the shows we loved as kids. Please hit the like button and tell us what you think if this video revealed anything unexpected or interesting. Do you have any thoughts about the true tales that lie beneath the smiles? Be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon to receive more enlightening stories like this one, so that you are always up to date. Remember, there are multiple sides to every story, and I appreciate you viewing. Always maintain an inquiring mind.